Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Norshira Muhammad Ghazali from the Department of Communication, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Today I will present a research entitled Islamic Views on Vaccination, a Systematic Literature Review. This research was carried out by a group of researchers, Dr. Ahmad bin Muhammad Hussaini from the Department of Fiqh and Usul al-Fiqh, Dr. Shafizan, Dr. Helmi, and Dr. Nushakira from the Department of Communication, Dr. Nusafira from the Department of Arabic, as well as Sister Ainul Shahida. Previous research showed several reasons why people reject vaccine. One of the reasons is due to religious misunderstanding and misinterpretation of Islamic evidence. Rejection of vaccination among Muslims could negatively influence the impression of the religion, particularly among the non-Muslim community. Therefore, it is important for the communication scholars to address this misunderstanding on vaccination using Islamic data sources and arguments. And as revealed in the researchers' initial search, little can be found on strategic communication intervention that uses Islamic data, sources, and arguments to address vaccine misunderstanding. Hence, this research was carried out with the objective to develop a strategic communication approach to counter vaccine misunderstanding using Islamic perspectives and evidence. This research also systematically reviewed past studies to gather different kinds of Islamic sources in promoting vaccination and also to encounter the religious misunderstanding on vaccination. This research was carried out using systematic literature review, and this part will explain different phases of the SLR. The first phase of the systematic literature review is known as plan a review. At this stage, the researcher will design and develop the review protocol, that is by specifying which databases to be included in the review, whether to check on the references, whether to use hand search, or to include grey literature in the review. The planning stage also involves the need to decide the inclusion and exclusion criteria, which will help to find studies that will address the question of the research. And at this stage, the researcher also decide on the number of reviewers as well as the reviews to be done. Meanwhile, the second phase of the systematic literature review is known as conducting the review. At this phase, researchers will conduct the selection of studies through initial search, first screening, and second screening. Once studies have been selected, assessment on each study's quality will be done using certain critical appraisal criteria. And after the selected studies have been finalized, data will be extracted from each of them and followed by analysis and synthesis by the main researchers of this study. In the third phase of the systematic literature review, the researchers document the review, in which discussion and confirmation of the review outcomes will be carried out by the researchers. Next, the data that has been synthesized will be mapped out according to teams that will capture the main idea in order to answer the main research questions. This will be followed by the development of the communication intervention using Islamic evidence that are found from the systematic literature review. In general, as can be seen in this table here, the highest number of studies came from Google Scholar database, followed by MySite and Scopus, and the highest number of studies selected were published in 2020 with 28 studies, followed by 2020 with only 8 studies. Meanwhile, in terms of the study design, 18 studies used qualitative research method, with 6 used quantitative methods, and 3 studies used the mixed method, and 19 studies did not apply any particular methods because they were mainly fatwa and also concept papers. The main results of this research is that, besides the Quran and Hadith, scholars relied on other Islamic sources such as Maqasid al-Shari'ah, Qawaid Fiqhiyah, and Istihalah to derive fatwa in supporting vaccination. The Islamic ruling were decided because there is no direct discussion about vaccination in the Quran and Hadith, and because of that, scholars have to refer to other Islamic sources such as Maqasid, Qawaid, and Istihalah in order to interpret and decide the ruling of vaccination. As mentioned earlier, the main Islamic sources to support vaccination are Quran and Sunnah, Maqasid al-Shari'ah, and Qawaid al-Fiqhiyah, as well as Istihalah. Quran and Sunnah serve as the basis for Muslims to make decisions on vaccination, particularly to support the use of Maqasid and Qawaid. So Maqasid al-Shari'ah refers to a situation where there is no direct evidence in the Quran and Sunnah. Muslim scholars will make law based on Maqasid. So Maqasid refers to the objectives or goals set forth by Islamic law to accomplish the benefit of humanity. And Maqasid refers to the protection of religion, life, intellect, lineage, and wealth. In that sense, when Muslim scholars decide whether or not to allow vaccination, they will look at all these elements under Maqasid al-Shari'ah. The Muslim scholars also use Qawaid Fiqhiyah, also known as Islamic legal maxim, to rule out vaccination law. So this refers to the general rules of fiqh to guide Muslims to make decisions, especially on matters that are not directly addressed in the Quran and Hadith. So legal maxims occasionally borrow terms from the Quran and Hadith, but more often the terms or these maxims will be improved and expanded by jurists from time to time. The systematic literature review conducted has provided rich discussion as to why vaccine is permissible and how the rules of vaccination were derived. These results are useful for communication scholars, which should be shared with the public in an effort to correct vaccine-related religious misunderstanding. In conclusion, this study argues that intervention from Islamic perspectives is vital to address vaccine religious concerns. This study could serve as an important effort by researchers in the field of communication to approach health matters using Islamic understanding to convey that Islam covers all matters and hence relevant across period of time. That is all from me. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Assalamu alaikum.